This is a video put together for the Irish Travel Agents Conference in Porto on October the 13th, 2017. It's to frame the terms of reference for a debate on the Travellers Protection Fund and the bonding system. The origins of the bonding system came from the travel agent community itself. It wanted to put something in place to protect consumers and also protect its own reputation, and bring confidence back to an industry that had undergone a series of collapses. The goal was repatriation. The big issue of the 1980s was to prevent holidaymakers being stranded abroad when a holiday firm went bust. Aircraft would have to be chartered to bring stranded customers back to Ireland, and somebody had to pay for that. The bonding system was set up to pay for that, and it was on a fixed charge per passenger basis. It was established on a legal basis by Minister Jim Mitchell, who then decided that a percentage of turnover should be allocated to the fund, originally by tour operators and later by travel agents. A couple of things happened afterwards. The charter market had been very significant. It had reached a peak in 2002 of 1.2 million passengers, but it collapsed to around 140,000. Airlines such as Ryanair and Aer Lingus started flying to the sun destinations they realised was a place to make a lot of money in the summer. These had only been served by charter. The bonding system came in two waves of legislation, but both of them seemed to be out of date even as they were implemented. The 1980s was largely a pre-credit card era. Scheduled aircraft had moved into the charter locations by the second round of legislation. It meant that a steadily declining sector of the travel industry was properly protected, and the consumer showed no interest. They were going for the lower cost option. Repatriation was less an issue than refunding customers money they had paid for a holiday which had not yet been taken, and indeed paying for a hotel room when a new round of failures arrived at the bed banks, which were not covered at all. The fund was operating well, but took a big hit in 2008 when Jerry McMahon's Fáilte Travel failed, sticking it with a bill of €1.6 million. In 2009 was the collapse of budget travel. It tried to downsize. It found that it couldn't remove the bond and didn't have access to the cash there, and then it collapsed quite spectacularly, blaming the bonding system, brought down by regulation. Worse was to follow in 2016 when low cost failed, sticking the protection fund with a bill of €3.5 million. People had been running for cover for a few months, and the Commission of Aviation Regulation didn't seem to notice this. Even when low cost launched a sale, which effectively was a cash grab in the weeks before its closure. There was also a question over one decision, that a bed bank based in Palma should be regulated under the fund. That decision cost €3.5 million. Consumers in Ireland were better protected. Those in Britain didn't get the same level of protection, but it did come at a heavy price. It left the fund with €1.5 million where it had 6, and replacing that was a big headache for the new commissioner. When Ryanair Holidays started trading, it was not subjected to the same rules and allowed to trade under a bond that was based in Germany. To repeat the cliché of the recession, we are where we are. No use crying over past decisions. But the formal travel industry had been reduced from 80% of the market to between 15 and 20%. They were the ones under legislation carrying the can for all consumer protection. The phrase low-hanging fruit is probably overused, but it applies in this case. The legislation dated to a time when cross-border trade was minimal. The internet had changed that for the consumer, and indeed for travel companies as well, who are now selling across borders with a lower cost base than the formal Irish travel trade was saddled with. In other industries, there was no bonding. The government came running with a bailout when something horrible happened. Travel insurance companies are also very good at seeing a get-out clause. The bonding system in Ireland seemed to give them one. The Travellers Protection Fund is now €1.8 million. Remember, it lost €1.6 million on Fáilte Travel in 2008 and €3.5 million on low-cost holidays in 2016. The proposed remedy from the Commission of Aviation Regulation is to double the bond from 4% to 8% for travel agencies and from 10% to 20% for tour operators. The aim is to provide for 2 collapses in rapid succession of about €1.5 million each. They want to get the fund back up to that level of €3 million. They say that removing scheduled flights will reduce the burden on travel agents but might increase it on tour operators. And they want their consultation paper to sit outside the forthcoming changes to the Package Holiday Directive. Most of all, the Commission wants a solution that does not require legislative change. Nor does it want to charge on all passengers that might look like the travel tax, which was very unpopular and resisted strongly by the airlines. It wants submissions from individual travel companies rather than representative bodies. And it wants a more immediate solution than anything that comes from the implementation of the Package Travel Directive coming in 2018. And with that, the debate began.